Hi everybody, Dr. Pingle here. I was going to demonstrate some of the great new classification tools that are in CloudCompare now. The process for doing classifications is actually quite a bit more streamlined. So to do this, I'm going to load a LiDAR tile from the Blacksburg, Virginia area here near Virginia Tech. We've got about 20 million points here. This is a pretty big tile. Let's take a look. All right, so this is loaded into CloudCompare as is pretty typical. We're looking at one of the scalar fields, one of the attributes, and this is point source ID, so it always looks weird. We talk about this a lot in the videos, but for anybody kind of coming into this straight from not having worked with this stuff before, it's always good to kind of go into this. So we're just going to export the z coordinate to the scalar field and take a quick look at it, and then you get something that looks like this. You can really see those high and low outliers here, and we can adjust our visualization to kind of bring out that detail. So lots of ways to get started on this. What I really want to do is run the cloud simulation filter that's in CloudCompare, but the first thing that I'm going to do is just manually actually segment out these high and low noises. Now I could use a statistical outlier removal tool if I wanted to, but these are so easy to just grab by sight that I'm going to do that. And I'm going to take those out because I want to run this ground filter. So I could actually classify these immediately as noise, but I want to first pull at least some of these out so that they don't get in the way of the class simulation filter. All right, so I bumped these out. We'll hit yes. We'll split those out. Great. And now I get something that's a little bit more reasonable. I can look at the histogram here, and it's focused on what I'm looking for. I'm sure I have a couple more points in here that I didn't catch, but this is good enough to start with. So now we're going to run the class simulation filter. So that's here. You can also find it up on the screen here, but I always find it under the plugins. So CSF filter. Lots of different settings on this. This is a great little filter. We'll hit yes. I'm just going to accept the defaults, which probably have a cloth that may be a little bit too coarse or fine. It's fine for the demonstration. That's fine. I'm going to pause the video while this runs. It doesn't take too long to run, but no sense just watching a bar roll by. Okay, that's done, and now we have our ground and off-ground points here, so we can see our off-ground points, and we can see our ground points. So one of the things that we can do, I mean, just to get started here, is I'm actually going to select all of these points. Now, there's plenty of other ways to do this, but it seems like this will work just fine for me. All right, and we right-click to finish off that polygon. Now, the thing that we can do here is we hit this. So we're going to set the class of points inside the polyline, which is everything. And we're going to set those to a value of 2, which is ground. Now, we'll finish this up. We didn't segment anything out. All we did was change the classification. And we're going to leave the classification here. We could do the same thing. We could do the same thing here and set these to something else. There we go. So we could, for instance, set this to 1. And then when we merge these together, now we're looking at, scroll down here, we're looking at the classification field set active. And you can see that we've now changed the classification on this. We can also go back in here and do the same thing with our noise. So these are our noise points, and we could select all of these, flag them as noise. Sometimes the last classification will break this out versus low noise versus high noise, but we could just sort of jump to that. So this is an example of what the classifications are. So we've got low noise, which is 7, and high noise, which is 18. So jumping back into CloudCompare, oops, wrong screen. We could separate those out as well if we wanted to. We'll ballpark this here. So we'll set these as low noise. And let's verify this here. So we're going to set this to 18, high noise. Okay. So now we have those two classifications done. And we can merge these two back together as well. This is now a duplicate. And here we should be able to look at the classification. Slight hiccup in the video while I figured out why this didn't show up immediately correctly. And that's because we set, we're using a color pattern here that scales off. And essentially what we've done is we've pegged the red at 18, our high noise value. So we could just bump that right down. And then our noise is showing up here as red, both 7 and 18. At the high end here. So this is a much better way of visualizing it, and we still see the ground and everything else. There we go. There's a quick tutorial on how to do the classifications. If we wanted to get into this a little bit further, we could start looking for errors in our classification and see places where we think the filter didn't do quite as good of a job. Carve those out and fix those. You can see that we've got what is the top of a building, probably right here, misclassified as ground. So we could go in and fix that as well as all of the rest of these. You could go further and try to classify the trees as vegetation and so on. Most of the time, it's probably a good idea to run this through sort of a pre-filter. We use the cloth simulation filter here to do it. Plenty of other classification techniques, and then you can go in and manually edit those. But quick tutorial. All right, thanks everybody. Bye.